Stop looking around, stop measuring your progress by someone else's success, stop giving your energy to things, people, or situations that do nothing but drain you. If you want to become mentally stronger, there's only one place your focus belongs: on yourself. Every time you give your attention to what someone else is doing, you take it away from your own growth. You lose time, you lose clarity, you lose power. Mental strength is built in the moments when you choose discipline over distraction, purpose over popularity, progress over validation. You can't grow into the person you're meant to be if you're constantly comparing yourself to the person next to you. Focusing on yourself begins with reclaiming your energy. In a world that constantly pulls your attention in every direction, the ability to redirect that energy inward is not just powerful, it's essential. Most people waste hours of their day looking at what others are doing, comparing timelines, lifestyles, and achievements. They scroll, they watch, they overthink. And with every moment spent doing that, they lose touch with their own journey, they give away their attention, their focus, and with it, their growth. When your mind is constantly focused outward, you leave little room to hear your own thoughts, to understand your own needs, or to follow your own path. Redirecting that energy inward isn't selfish, it's necessary. It's the foundation of mental strength. Every person has a finite amount of energy each day. You decide where it goes. When you pour it into comparison, into other people's opinions, or into distractions that don't serve your growth, you're spending that energy on things you can't control. But when you start investing that energy into yourself, your mindset, your discipline, your goals, you begin to build something solid. You begin to feel centered. You begin to notice progress, not because the world is applauding, but because you are finally aligned with yourself. That alignment is what gives you clarity. It helps you see through the noise and focus on what really matters. Mental strength doesn't come from trying to keep up with others. It comes from mastering your ability to stay locked in on your own vision, even when it feels like no one else understands it. It's being so connected to your why that the distractions no longer tempt you. You stop wasting time wondering how far others have come because you're too busy building. You stop questioning your pace because you know your path isn't supposed to look like theirs. There's peace in that focus. There's power in that internal alignment. That's where resilience is built, not in the chaos of outside voices, but in the silence of internal commitment. It's not about cutting off the world entirely. It's about being selective. Selective about what you consume, who you listen to, and what gets your attention. Because your energy is currency. And the way you spend it determines what kind of future you're creating. Focusing on yourself also means becoming brutally honest with your habits, your weaknesses, and your patterns. It means being self-aware enough to recognize when you're slipping into distraction or avoidance, and disciplined enough to pull yourself back on track. It's choosing to face yourself instead of running to comfort or comparison. When you redirect your energy inward, you give yourself the space to grow on your terms. You begin to rebuild trust with yourself, trust that you will show up, that you will do the work, that you can rely on your own commitment. That kind of self-trust is rare, and it's what separates those who talk about changing from those who actually do. Focusing on yourself isn't a trend or a phase. It's a lifestyle shift. It's a deep, intentional decision to put your energy where it counts most, into your own evolution. Mental strength isn't built in public. It's forged in the quiet, unseen moments when nobody is watching. It doesn't come from applause, validation, or recognition. It comes from consistency. While the world glorifies noise, attention, and status updates, true power is growing quietly behind the scenes. The people who are mentally strong are not always the loudest in the room or the most visible online. They are the ones who keep promises to themselves when no one else is holding them accountable. They get up early when the world is asleep. They push forward when it would be easier to quit. And they train their minds to stay committed even when motivation is nowhere to be found. Consistency requires grit. It requires discipline on the days when life feels heavy and progress feels slow. It's easy to be motivated when everything is going right, But mental strength is proven when nothing is going your way and you still show up. When you don't get the recognition, when the results are invisible, and when the progress feels invisible, that's when strength is truly tested. Every time you show up, regardless of how you feel, you deposit into your mental resilience. Over time, those small acts of consistency stack into something unshakable. The mentally strong don't need to announce what they're doing. Their work will speak for itself in time. They understand that progress doesn't always look exciting. It looks like repetition, silence, and sometimes even boredom. But they do it anyway, because they've built a relationship with discipline that doesn't depend on how they feel in the moment. They've trained themselves to value the process over the applause. That shift in mindset is what allows them to keep going when others stop. Consistency is what builds trust with yourself, and that self-trust is what gives you confidence that no one can take away. It's one thing to hear someone say you're capable. It's another thing entirely to prove it to yourself every single day. Every time you follow through, even in the smallest ways, you reinforce your own belief in your ability to show up and stay committed, and that belief becomes the foundation of everything else. Without consistency, nothing else lasts. Talent fades without discipline, motivation fades without routine, inspiration fades without execution. But when you are consistent, you create your own momentum. You no longer rely on circumstances to determine your level of effort. The mentally strong don't chase highs. They don't need to feel excited to get to work. They understand that greatness is a byproduct of doing the ordinary things extraordinarily well over a long period of time. They don't skip the basics, they master them. They don't cut corners, they go deeper. And they don't stop just because it's hard, they expect it to be. That's the edge consistency gives you. It becomes part of your identity. Not something you turn on and off, but something you live by. You're not waiting to feel ready. You're not waiting for the perfect conditions. You just show up day in and day out because that's who you are. The only race that truly matters is the one you're running against yourself. Too often, people exhaust their energy trying to keep pace with someone else's journey, measuring their value against someone else's timeline, comparing their behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. But that kind of mindset breeds anxiety, insecurity, and self-doubt. It strips you of your focus and disconnects you from your own path. Mental strength begins when you stop trying to outpace others and start focusing entirely on your own growth. The moment you realize that the real competition is the person you were yesterday, you take back your power. Progress doesn't need to be flashy. It doesn't need to come with recognition or comparison. It simply needs to be real. Even the smallest improvements matter when they are part of your own evolution. You don't need to leap forward every day. You just need to keep moving forward. And when the only person you're trying to be better than is the version of you that woke up yesterday, you give yourself the space to grow without pressure and without noise. You shift from chasing to becoming. You become intentional, reflective, and grounded in your own process. When you stop competing with others, your mind becomes clearer. You begin to understand your own values, your own strengths, and your own weaknesses. You stop trying to mimic someone else's formula for success and start crafting your own. That awareness is powerful. It allows you to set goals that align with your vision, not society's expectations. It helps you prioritize what really matters to you instead of what's trending or what's popular. You become more authentic, more focused, and more fulfilled. Because you're not chasing validation, you're chasing self-mastery. The truth is, no one else can live your life. No one else has your exact mix of experiences, talents, struggles, or potential. So why should you measure your worth using someone else's story? Your pace is yours. Your path is yours. And your progress is valid no matter how fast or slow it seems. You are the only real benchmark you need. Every challenge you overcome, every habit you improve, every limiting belief you confront, it all counts and it all compounds. This is what builds mental strength, not outperforming others, but outperforming yourself. Competing with yourself also teaches you discipline. It keeps you grounded. Because when you're only focused on being better than you were, you stop making excuses. You stop deflecting blame. You start taking responsibility. You ask better questions. What can I improve today? Where did I fall short yesterday? What lesson can I carry forward? That mindset creates growth because it's rooted in accountability. It shifts your identity from someone who reacts to life to someone who shapes it, and that shift changes everything. Every day you wake up with a new opportunity to get just a little better. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need permission to evolve. All you need is the courage to face yourself honestly and the commitment to keep improving even when no one else sees the progress. Because at the end of the day, the real victory isn't in beating others, it's in becoming the strongest, wisest, most disciplined version of yourself. There comes a point in every journey where you have to take a hard look at what's surrounding you and ask yourself whether it's helping you grow or holding you back. Mental strength isn't just about pushing through adversity. It's about protecting your peace, your focus, and your energy. And that means learning to cut off what drains you. Not everything or everyone deserves access to your mind, your time, or your heart. If something consistently leaves you feeling depleted, distracted, or disconnected from your purpose, it doesn't belong in your space. It takes courage to walk away from what's familiar, even when you know it's unhealthy. Whether it's a toxic relationship, a draining habit, or an environment that keeps you stuck, the longer you hold on, the more it costs you. Every moment spent trying to fix what's not meant for you is a moment taken from building what is. Mental strength is knowing when something is no longer serving you and having the discipline to release it without guilt. It's understanding that peace of mind is worth more than temporary comfort or approval. People often confuse cutting things off with being cold or emotionless, but it's the opposite. It's self-respect. It's setting a standard for how your energy is handled. You don't owe constant access to people who constantly take without giving. You don't have to explain your boundaries to those who have no intention of respecting them. And you don't need to feel bad for prioritizing your own growth. The more mentally strong you become, the more you'll realize how sacred your energy is and how few things are worth compromising it for. Cutting off what drains you isn't just about people, it's also about habits and thoughts. Every time you scroll endlessly instead of focusing on your goals, that's energy drain. Every time you replay a past mistake or doubt your future, that's energy drained. Every time you talk yourself out of action with fear or procrastination, you're handing your power away. Mental strength is taking that power back. It's identifying the things that pull you off track and choosing discipline over distraction, focus over noise. This process also requires self-awareness. You have to be willing to confront the patterns that keep repeating. You have to recognize when you're sabotaging yourself, even in subtle ways. That could be staying in environments that make you feel small, entertaining thoughts that make you feel unworthy, or sticking to routines that keep you stagnant. It's not always easy to admit that something familiar is the very thing limiting your growth, but that level of honesty is where real transformation begins. Letting go doesn't mean losing. It means making space. Space for clarity, space for better choices, space for your next level. And the stronger your mind becomes, the quicker you'll recognize what's out of alignment. You won't beg for peace, you'll create it. You won't chase validation, you'll choose self-respect. And with every boundary you set, with every weight you release, you'll step deeper into the life that was waiting for you all along. Discipline is the bridge between goals and results, and it matters far more than motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes with your emotions, with your energy levels, with your circumstances. It's easy to feel motivated when everything is going well, when you're inspired by a video, a quote, or a temporary high. But the truth is, no one becomes mentally strong by relying on feelings alone. Discipline is what carries you through when motivation fades. It's the habit of showing up no matter what. It's the choice to take action regardless of whether you feel like it in the moment. Mental strength is rooted in the ability to do what needs to be done, especially on the days when excuses feel louder than your purpose. Discipline is waking up early even when the bed feels comfortable. It's sticking to your plan even when distractions are tempting. It's doing the work when no one's watching and no one's clapping, because you're driven by something deeper than recognition. When discipline becomes your default, you don't need external motivation to push you. You create your own internal momentum. The problem most people face is that they wait to feel ready. They wait for the right mood, the perfect time, or the ideal conditions to take action. But if you always wait to feel motivated, you'll rarely get anything meaningful done. Discipline removes the emotion from execution. It teaches you to do the right thing even when it's uncomfortable. It shifts your identity from someone who reacts based on feelings to someone who acts based on purpose. And once that shift happens, your results become consistent because your effort becomes consistent. Every act of discipline is a message to yourself. It says, I can trust me. The more you follow through on your commitments, the more confident and mentally resilient you become. You no longer have to hype yourself up to take action. You just do it because it's who you are. You become someone who doesn't negotiate with laziness, who doesn't bend for excuses, who doesn't need to be in the mood to move forward. That's the level of strength that creates lasting change. Discipline also helps you weather the tough seasons. Life will always have setbacks, delays, and challenges. You will have days when everything feels heavy, when motivation disappears completely, and when your goals feel out of reach. But if you've trained yourself to rely on discipline, you keep moving. You don't wait for the storm to pass, you build in it. You don't stop at the first sign of discomfort, you lean in. And through that process, you develop a mental toughness that no circumstance can break. People who rely only on motivation burn out fast. They start strong but struggle to finish. But those who are led by discipline keep going long after the excitement is gone. They understand that the key to success isn't in doing something once when it feels good. It's in doing it every day, especially when it doesn't. Discipline builds consistency, and consistency builds result. It's not flashy. It's not always fun. But it's always worth it, because it's the foundation of real, unshakable mental strength. Everything you need to become stronger, more focused, more successful is already within you. Most people spend their lives searching outside of themselves for answers, for validation, for strength, never realizing that the greatest power they'll ever access comes from within. It's easy to believe that someone else has the key to your future, that success will arrive when the right person notices you, when the right opportunity appears, or when life suddenly becomes easier. But mental strength begins when you realize you're not waiting on anything. You already have what it takes, you just haven't fully tapped into it yet. Looking inward requires courage. It's easier to believe the answers are outside of you because then you don't have to take full responsibility. But the moment you look in the mirror and decide to own everything, the past, the pain, the patterns, the progress, you take your power back. You stop waiting and start creating. You stop hoping and start executing. There is clarity in that shift. There is freedom in realizing that nothing outside of you can define you unless you allow it to. The strongest people are the ones who have learned to listen to themselves before they listen to the world. They trust their instincts, they trust their decisions. And that trust didn't come from always being right. It came from being willing to fail, reflect, learn, and try again. That process builds a relationship with yourself that no one else can take away. You begin to develop a deep internal compass that guides you regardless of what others think or say. And the stronger that connection becomes, the less noise you entertain. You also stop depending on the world to validate your worth. You don't need likes, applause, or approval to feel valuable. You know who you are. You know what you're capable of. And even when self-doubt creeps in, you don't let it control you, because you've built enough self-awareness to recognize it for what it is, a thought, not a truth. When you understand that everything you need is already inside, You stop searching and start building. You focus on sharpening your mindset, strengthening your discipline, and aligning your actions with your vision. This inner power doesn't mean you don't ask for help or learn from others. It means you no longer believe you're incomplete without those things. You appreciate support, but you don't depend on it to move forward. You learn from others, but you still trust your own voice. You gather wisdom from different sources, but you stay rooted in your own identity. That balance creates mental strength, knowing when to listen and when to lead, when to absorb and when to act. When you truly believe that everything you need is already within you, you stop chasing the illusion of completeness. You stop feeling behind. You stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You understand that your journey is unique, and so is your power. You understand that strength isn't given, it's uncovered. It's already there, waiting for you to access it through clarity, action, and belief.